That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
You know what's funny about Joe Biden saying that he's concerned about the democracy and the freedom and whatnot is that, Joe, you've been in office for 4 years. You and Kamala could have done anything that you wanted to do about how you felt about what's going on with the country and your concerns. So the fact that now in your farewell speech, you decide that you want to share with us your concerns, why didn't you pass any legislation about your concerns, addressing your concerns? And I don't want anybody to give me this crap because when he got elected, he had the presidency, he had Congress, and he had the Senate. He had the trifecta. He had what he needed to be able to push legislation that they saw fit, but they chose not to. And now they want to gaslight the American public. These people just make me sick.
Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that's exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules, pay their fair share of taxes.
Now, the irony in that is that his son, Hunter Biden, has been convicted and charged with tax evasion on millions of dollars in income that he got from China, Ukraine, several other countries, a Russian oligarch. But the media downplayed it, acted like it didn't exist, just like they said the laptop wasn't real. Not only was the laptop real, come to find out there was images of him smoking crack, there was images of him with prostitutes, there was all types of stuff on that, and you have 51 intelligence agents sign off that it was Russian disinformation when the FBI already had it in their possession. And so now we fast forwarded to where Hunter Biden has been convicted of fraudulently filling out a puke pop out application saying that he wasn't on drugs when clearly he was on drugs from his own images, from his own memoir. He says it, but he lied on the application. And then from the millions of dollars that he collected from countries while his father was the vice president all the way up. Now, why would China or Ukraine put Hunter Biden on the board of some of their biggest companies, especially energy companies, when he doesn't have experience, doesn't have a degree in that, has never worked in it? Why would they do that? And then why would they be sending millions of dollars to James Biden, Joe Biden's brother, and his son? Why did 9 of Joe Biden's family members receive wire transfers from other countries? Even his grandchildren had $25,000 deposits coming from different places around the world, allegedly, even though the bank statements have already been published when the GOP did their investigation. So when they keep saying there's no evidence, so there's no evidence, there's plenty of evidence. There was just none specifically where it was Joe Biden saying, yeah, wire me the money, but you got being held by H, Hunter, for the big guy. Who's the big guy? Who's the big guy? So Hunter Biden not paying taxes and wouldn't have paid taxes if he wouldn't have got caught. And then Joe Biden goes in and pardons his son from 2014 to present day. And he's pardoned for crimes committed, crimes that he may have committed, which means that he could come up that he had 3 bodies. And guess what? He's pardoned. Now, why would you choose 11 years? That's an awkward time frame from when you were your last 2 years as VP all the way through now. And if anybody don't see anything funny with that, I got bridges that I'm selling if you're interested in buying.
His farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech industrial complex It could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking.
Now, what is really funny about Joe Biden saying how concerned he is about, the big tech and the threat. Those companies were all working on behalf of the Democrat Party since their inception, since they were created. Their matter of fact, of all of them, from Facebook, Meta, Instagram, Twitter, all of these places are staffed 90%, from what I heard, by leftists. The fact checkers, leftists. So when they were working on behalf of the Democrat Party, censoring free speech, blocking and banning people who disagree with them, shadow banning folks who had information that ran counter to what they wanted to spread. And now they talk about misinformation and disinformation. Remember with me. Remember when the border being open was misinformation and disinformation until that courageous governor of Texas started sending illegal immigrants around the country? We wouldn't have known. Remember when they said that ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine were things that did not work as far as with COVID? That was misinformation and disinformation. Then we find out they did work for the prevention. Then we talk about the economy and crime. If you say that crime is bad, that's misinformation, disinformation. But then we find out crime is up, and that the agencies stopped reporting certain crime to make the numbers look better, to help Joe and to help Kamala. So when we talk about the spreading of misinformation, disinformation, remember, it was deep fakes and misinformation when we were saying Joe Biden had dementia and his mind wasn't right and he was wandering all around. Remember, that was misinformation and disinformation until the debate on global public stage, they couldn't deny it anymore. And so the gaslighting by these people is just nuts. Mark Zuckerberg in 2020 donated 400 million Zuckerbucks. That's hell of a marketing on behalf of the DNC from Facebook. Twitter was literally removing and banning people, doctors, reputable doctors, and people who ran counter. So it's just rich to hear this man speak about these things. And again, Joe, if you were concerned about big tech, why didn't you pass legislation? You had the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Why didn't you pass it, Joe? Because it wasn't important to you, because you thought, the DNC thought, that American people were stupid and they was going to be able to treat Joe like Weekend at Bernie's, and somehow he was going to get back in that seat until the implosion at the debate. Then they choose the true. Now you talk about oligarchy. Man, the DNC showed us who runs their party. And the show ain't the president, it wasn't Joe Biden. He was booted out. Kamala was slid in. Forget the 14 million people that voted for him. Kamala was installed, and we know that the rest is history. But guess who helped with that? The media, the quote-unquote free press, the social media platforms, MSDNC and the Communist News Network and CNN. And thank goodness for patriots on the internet, your Tim Pools, your Charlie Kirks, your Black Conservative Perspective, your Officer Tatums. These people who was laying out the information, sharing it, Elon Musk for buying Twitter and making it X and giving us an opportunity to get both sides or get the information and to make our own decision. But let me keep going.
Artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work, and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land
government
of liberty,
control,
America not China, must lead the world in the development of AI.
Power to the people, right, Joe? Now, he talks about us, not China, controlling AI, but yet you done things and the legislation that you did pass emboldened and empowered China, going straight to EV mandates. Then when we did have the COVID shutdowns, guess who didn't care about the shutdowns? They were still rocking and rolling. Then we want to take away from our fossil fuel, which again impacts and hurts our ability on this side when it comes to being competitive in those markets. And we got all of this climate change pushing. What's crazy, these Democrat politicians push it on Americans. And if you don't know this, they tried and almost succeeded to ban gas stoves. I watched the vote on it. Most people don't even know that we were that close to having gas stoves being banned and you being forced to put an electric stove in your house, which would have skyrocketed your electric bill. They're trying to mandate water through all of these electric type things. And guess what would happen? Your water usage and your water bill would have shot up because the water would have came out a lot less powerful, which means you'd have to be in there longer and use, just to be able to get what you typically would have got. It would have cost you more money on your electric bill. All those things would have shot up. And guess what? While they're doing all of this to us and suppressing this and we got to live this way, you got politicians flying in private jets, emitting so much CO2 into the air. And then you got China and Venezuela, whose emissions have increased 3 to 5 times what it was. So why is it that they're pushing all of this on us? Oh, climate change, we're going to save the planet. When you got other countries who have increased what they're putting into the atmosphere, which again means that you're going to make Americans struggle and hurt while the rest of the world continues on. What is the crazy with these people? And then with China, you bring them up. They had a spy balloon that Joe Biden let go across the country for days. And by the time it was shot down, man, they got everything that they needed. Not to mention the drone activity, who they have no idea who's in those drones. Our planes can't get close to them. We can't take them down. They're faster than we are. They maneuver better, and their firepower is stronger. But now we talk about the concern for China. While his son was collecting millions of dollars from the Chinese, while congressmen were staffing known Chinese spies. And if you don't believe me, make sure you do research and go Google the Democrat congressman who had employed and was sleeping with a Chinese spy named Fang Fang. Matter of fact, let me get his name real fast because I know it and I can see his face. And he gets on my nerves. But he was dating Fang Fang. Let me pull this up. Who dated Fang Fang? It was Eric Swalwell, the California congressman, Eric Swalwell. So these folks, not to mention the sleeper cells that they say are already in this country, not to mention the hundreds of Chinese nationals that came across the open border. Not to mention, do you know that they had actually busted and found Chinese miniature police departments or intelligence departments in the United States in apartment complexes? They found it. But now we talk about wanting to make sure we maintain for China. Man, this guy's crazy.
In the years ahead, it'll help to be, it's going to be up to the presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share. We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics.
And now they talk about dark money, right? Joe Biden is like that person who, he let you use the ball, because they think they're going to get picked up to play. Say, yeah, you can use my ball while y'all playing. And gets in the game and loses. His team loses as opposed to waiting on the side till he get picked again. He said, nope, y'all can't play with my ball. I'm not going to let the ball play until I get back on the court. And if I can't get back on the court, I'm leaving. So if he can't run it, he'll wreck it. Because he talks about these tax cuts to the rich, to the corporations. The tax cuts wasn't just to the corporation. We all got them too. And see what they hoped to do, what they were going to do, is if they would have won, they were going to let the Trump tax cuts expire. And all they were going to do is just reinstate them and call them the Harris tax cuts or the Biden tax cuts. That's all they were going to do. Because the Trump tax cuts have benefited us tremendously. And guess what? Under Trump's term, he had the largest tax cuts and we brought in the most revenue. Funny how that works. When you give people a break, they tend to pump more back into the economy. When you give corporations some breathing room, they tend to employ and expand their businesses. Hell of a concept. But yet, the reason why it's one not known by most politicians, they've never built anything. Like, I am a self-employed business person that employs people, built it from the ground up for over a decade. These politicians, Joe Biden's been in politics for over 50 years. He's never built anything. Anybody that he employs is being paid by you and I. So it's funny how these folks, and that's been the problem with America, it's funny how these folks, these politicians, want to tell real businessmen and women who have built things from the ground up that are profitable how it works. That's why Trump's term was very successful and a term full of nothing but politicians was in the tank. Flat out. That's just it.
We need to enact an 18-year term limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. We need to ban members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress.
Now, what's really funny about the stock ban, that's a direct shot at Nancy Pelosi, right? You got to know that. Nancy Pelosi is one of the richest, if not the richest, wealthiest person in Congress. She's worth over $270 million, and she didn't have that when she came in. Her salary, I believe, is like $170,000 a year. So how does a woman who has been in politics, in public service, develop become wealthy over $270 million? Her husband isn't that great of an investor. Their stockbroker either is the best at picking or there's a little shadiness going on. Not to mention, it helps a little bit when you are the whip of Congress, you're the leader, and you just happen to chair a few committees that have things to do on investments in certain industries that you are invested in. So it's funny, they made awesome decisions to buy and sell right before or right after major decisions were happening and coming down the pipe. But again, Joe Biden, whose family has earned an estimated $30 million since he was VP to right now. Remember, now that he's out of it, you can't run it, so he'll wreck it. And since Nancy Pelosi spearheaded him being removed, oh yeah, he got it out for her. This is a vindictive old man. He really is. He plays this whole, I just want to talk to you. I'm just an old man. But we've seen times where that facade was broken and his outburst came out. This dude is vindictive. And they always talk about Trump. Trump has been attacked nonstop. Nonstop, and his family. And I honestly believe he handles it really, really well. He hasn't lost his mind. He has not cursed anybody out. He has not called anybody out of their name besides, that was stupid or being an idiot or don't know what they're doing. But these folks, they can't deal with anybody that just disagrees, let alone attack. Think about California. Right now, it's political. And you can't say anything about a black woman, Karen Bass, even though she doesn't even live in that damn city. And they elected her. She's in Ghana at the Ghanaian inauguration, sipping cocktails and taking pictures and selfies while her town is burning to the ground. And she knew. She was alerted on January the 2nd. Gavin Newsom. In 2019, Trump had approved federal funds to be able to negate and head off a potential crisis like this. He shot it down. Why? Because it was from Trump. And now that slick, talking slick oil salesman is, we shouldn't politicize this. This fires. And we shouldn't Every time there's a pow-pow at a school or at a function, what is the first thing the Democrats do? They politicize it. Oh, the Republicans and the reforms, and we got to do this, and we got to strip everybody of their Second Amendment. That is the first thing they do. They politicize it without knowing any of the information, unless it's somebody on the left. You notice how any of these people that went in and done the pew-pew, that might have been transgendered or homosexual or something like that. You notice how they don't like to talk about that? These folks have written manifestos. You notice they don't publicize those manifestos? Because it clearly will let everybody know just how deranged these people are. It's sick. People get on my nerves.
We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
And then we talk about this presidential immunity thing. Folks, let's just get this right once and for all. What the Supreme Court said is that there is presidential immunity for official acts, meaning that if the president, if there's an interaction we have with another country, we have to send troops over there or do drone strike, and let's just say by mistake, somebody gets hurt or something happens and it doesn't go the way it was supposed to. Well, that's an official act, so there's immunity for that. But the president just can't go take a pow and walk out on the street and just put two in somebody and then go sit down and eat lunch and nothing's going to happen, because that was an unofficial act. And so, he trips me out with this, when in reality, if anybody should be happy about the immunity, it should be him. And if he really believed that, it's easy. He could just do a waiver and just say that he doesn't want any of the protections. He signs a waiver saying, no, investigate and prosecute if you find wrongdoing. He's not going to do that, because he wants to put it out there for the public to see, for them to try to hold Trump to some account that nobody held this lunatic to. Make me sick. These are the same people that say, oh, Joe was great. He was doing handstands and backflips and sharp as he's ever been. Even while he's going through this. Do you notice, if you watched it, he was stumbling and bumbling. He didn't know what this was going to say. He didn't write this. He had no idea what the words were going to be till he read them. At all. What it is some Ivy League left-wing psychopath that's writing this stuff, gaslighting the American public, and this is the vessel which they spewing it out. And they almost weekended Bernie's their way back into the White House. They got us in 2020. COVID hit a lot, and they said he was hiding in the basement. No, the man just couldn't do it. But there was so much going on, and the media went so hard. And at that time, it was cool to be against Trump. Even though I saw through it and I was a supporter, I wasn't one of these fair weather people that now are trying to jump on board. No. You go check my history. I've been riding with him since back in 2015. And now the country has caught on like, oh, wait a second. These folks have been lying. These folks are gaslighting. These folks are propagandists. And these folks are deflectors. Everything that they blame somebody else for doing is literally what they're doing. Oh, watch out for censorship. That's because y'all were censorship people. Oh, watch out for presidents shouldn't be able to do what they want to do. Like Joe Biden ignoring the Supreme Court, violating laws, selling our wall, opening up our borders. These folks are nuts. But I just wanted to jump on and share some of the highlights from, well, I say highlights, should I say lowlights, from this from Joe Biden's farewell speech. And I want to say, Joe, live out the rest of your days. Stay out of the way. We do not care about your insight in politics anymore. And do you know at one point Nancy Pelosi said that man should be up on Mount Rushmore? Because when he got out, they thought that Kamala was going to get in and win. And there were people that said, especially Black conservative perspective, he actually said that if Kamala Harris wins, Joe Biden was going to be regarded as one of the greatest presidents in history. But if she lost, they were going to start highlighting all of his bull crap, and he would go down as one of the worst. Well, it's already started. And on top of that, you should see some of the craziness that is going on right now as far as with them legalizing illegal immigrants. Oh, my God. But, hey, listen, if you like this video, hit that like button for me. Listen, I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but hitting that like button, that is currency for me. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe. Turn on the notification and select all. On this channel, I share sales strategy and political and current events. That's what we discuss here. And if you liked it, subscribe, get notified when I upload. Other than that, I'm Brian Maxwell saying, hey, I wish you the best. God bless. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out.